Bill Ackman has seen better days. His hedge fund, Pershing Square Holdings, was once the envy of money managers everywhere, boasting a 40% return for 2014. However, due to the implosion of Valiant Pharmaceuticals and his battle with Carl Icahn over Herbalife, Pershing Square's returns have been severely diminished. It was reported that in February 2018, Ackman exited his entire $1 billion short against Herbalife. The fund faced a wave of redemption from institutional investors like the Blackstone Group, and many asset managers like JP Morgan are no longer recommending it to clients. So what is Bill Ackman doing now? Well, let's take a look. Ackman has had some hits during his career. One of Ackman's biggest successes came even before he founded Pershing. In 2002, Ackman was one of the first investors who noticed something was amiss in the credit default swaps against mortgage-backed collateral debt obligations. Ackman acted on his hunch by purchasing his own credit default swaps against MBIA. After 5 years of slugging it out with MBIA, Ackman's persistence paid off as the bond insurer's shares and debt ratings plunged during the 2008 financial crisis. And then there was Wendy's. Wendy's was one of Ackman's first successes at the helm of Pershing. In 2004, Pershing took a large stake in the fast food chain and successfully pressured management to spin off its Tim Hortons brand. Ackman would later exit his position at a substantial profit. And then General Growth Properties. Arguably, one of the best hedge fund trades of all time was Pershing Square's turnaround of troubled mall operator General Growth Properties from the brink of bankruptcy, netting the hedge fund a whopping $1.6 billion return on a $60 million investment. And then there was Canadian Pacific Railway. In 2011, after Pershing acquired a 14.2% stake in Canadian Pacific Railway, a proxy battle between the CP board and Ackman's hedge fund ensued. Eventually, Pershing emerged victorious. CP's stock rose from $49 per share to $220 per share, and Pershing sold its stake valued at about $1.45 billion. But Ackman has had some misses, including Valiant Pharmaceuticals. Pershing originally bought into Valiant at about $180 a share, but after accusations of fraud, shady conference calls, and horrible earnings, Pershing Square sold its entire position, taking a loss of more than $3 billion. And then there was Borders Group. Another misstep in Ackman's career was his activist position in the Borders Group. After taking a stake in the bookseller in 2006 and boosting his holdings in 2008, Ackman entered into loan agreements as Borders tried to find a buyer. Even after pledging a $960 million financing for Borders to take over Barnes & Noble's, which ultimately went nowhere, Borders declared bankruptcy in 2011, losing Pershing Square hundreds of millions of dollars. And then there was Herbalife. Perhaps the biggest trade associated with Bill Ackman was his short of Herbalife, arguing that the company was a pyramid scheme with an intrinsic value of zero. Ackman entered into a short position worth $1 billion in 2012. In the weeks following his short position, Ackman saw Herbalife's shares plunge around 60%, but the company proved remarkably resilient and rebounded to its pre-short levels, thus costing Ackman millions. As of February of 2018, Ackman has reportedly exited his entire short bet on Herbalife. So what is Ackman up to today? Over the past 90 days, Bill Ackman has amassed a stake of about $900 million in Starbucks. He thinks the stock will double. So we're looking here at the 20-year monthly chart on Starbucks, and the symbol is SBUX. And for disclosure purposes, I do not hold any shares of Starbucks. Now, I've taken the liberty of drawing these two trend lines, the upper and the lower here. This is basically where Starbucks has been trading since late 2015, up and down between these two trend lines, so more or less sideways. It did take a drop here in mid 2018, but has been since trending on up, and in part by the announcement of Ackman's position. What I like about this is we've been trending sideways while at the same time the MACD has topped and has been heading on down, getting ready for a reset down here. So this may be the bottom. I don't know yet. I'd like to see the fast line move through the slow line, but in my opinion, it has a good chance of doing that. Here's another example back in 2009, but this reset here is near the zero line, so it could be relatively powerful. Looking at the histogram, we definitely have an upward trend there. Here in the relative strength, somewhat the same as the MAC, a downward trend with perhaps a bottom setting in, and then perhaps on up we go. Stochastics shown much the same as well, perhaps a bottoming process here. And then down into the volume. The volume has been trending sideways for the most part, with a slight uptick here in the last few months or so. And the Williams looks like it bottomed here as expected, but then again possibly here in mid 2018, and it looks like it wants to head up and on its way back up into the price chart. Now, with the price moving on up, perhaps in part because of the announcement of Ackman's stake, I would sit on this and wait for maybe a little bit of a pullback. But as well, you need to conduct your fundamental analysis. So keep an eye open on this one. It just may do quite well. Is this going to be one of Ackman's hits or misses? I think it's going to be a hit. But please, once again, conduct your fundamental analysis. And so for today, that's ChewDog Charts.